Hi everyone, my name's Tati and I have schizoaffective disorder. Now for a lot of you, you might not even know what that is. I mean, you've probably heard of schizophrenia, but chances are schizoaffective disorder has gone under the radar. So, schizoaffective disorder, what is it? It's actually a blend, a mixture between two different disorders: schizophrenia, the schizo part, and bipolar disorder, the affective part. Now, there are two types of schizoaffective disorder: the bipolar type and the depressive type. I have the bipolar type, which means that in addition to having a mood disorder, the bipolar disorder, which means I have extreme lows and extreme highs in my moods and difficulty regulating my emotions, you add to that schizophrenic symptoms. So now some people have hallucinations, either auditory or visual. I actually didn't have hallucinations. But what I did have were delusions. I went through a complete psychosis, complete break with reality, and I started taking each and every thought that went through my head as fact, as reality, as objectively true. So, just to give you an example, I started believing that my mission here on earth was to save the devil. Now, a worthy cause, but not on track with my personal identity, because I'm not a religious person. I'm a very spiritual person. I do believe in the collective consciousness. I do believe in the soul. I do believe in a lot of values taught by a lot of religions and a lot of religious texts. But I do not consider myself to be a religious person. So when I started believing I was a prophet, believing I was the second coming of Jesus, believing I was here to save the devil and restore him as an angel, it was a stark contrast from my usual set of beliefs. And in that sense, that's how that became part of my illness, part of my disorder. I can give you another example. I started believing that people were communicating with me via telepathy or telekinesis. Another one, I had the belief that I could fly. So I literally tried to run as fast as I could and take off. Thankfully, I was on the ground. Thankfully, I was not trying to jump from a 10-story apartment building just because I had the certainty I could fly. I got lucky. I was on solid ground outside. Actually, I was in an underground parking lot. I can't remember why. But anyways, you or a loved one is displaying some of these symptoms. A good checklist that I have learned to keep in mind is, am I having racing thoughts? And is the person affected able to hold a streamlined conversation Are they kind of absent or disconnected? Or you'll find that communication with them is extremely difficult. And in those states, their moods, my moods, could go up and down, and from pure joy and love and connection and sharing and everything to pure paranoia. And where you really doubt everything and everyone around you, and you start believing that people are possessed by demons, people are possessed by other souls. I mean, the delusions can take a lot of different forms, but when you notice a clear break between who the person used to be and their current beliefs, as well as the racing speech, as well as there's also an inability to think on the medium to long term. So when I was in an episode, I would quite literally start giving all my belongings away and book a plane flight to who knows where to go see who knows who. And you have zero fears, zero inhibitions, and you just act. One time I emptied my bank account. Impulsive shopping, that's a big one too. And the problem is with those manic phases is that after spending a long time in a depressive state, it feels fantastic. The manic phases of schizoaffective disorder feel amazing, magical. It's like you figure out the key to the universe, the key to life, the key to peace on earth, and you're gonna go make it happen just with your energy, but with no concrete plan. I would literally leave my place barefoot, no phone, no nothing, and just go walk or sit and imagine I was like Gandhi going on a hunger strike that no one was aware of except for me, and waiting for people to notice. The issue is you have no ability to see what kind of situations you're putting yourself in. One time I thought it was a great idea to walk along on an abandoned railroad track. Turns out it was not an abandoned railroad track. It was very much in use. It looked overcome with greenery and everything, but oh, there came a train. And I got very lucky that I saw it in time and moved out of the way. And I'm lucky that the train saw me and slowed down. All this to say, it's not necessarily the content of the delusions. It's the break with reality that can be very dangerous. And don't underestimate the depressive phases either, because for a long time my diagnosis felt like a death sentence. And to be honest, I much preferred the magical world of being in a manic state than reality. It was much more inviting. And so for 5 years after my diagnosis, I just resigned myself to believing in an alternate reality because I couldn't handle real life. I mean, for the longest time, I would tell people I had bipolar disorder. And it wasn't until 2016, after 5 years of going on and off my pills and ending up in the psych hospital every spring, every year, and I have to stay there for a month until they stabilize me on meds. Every year, like clockwork, right around my birthday, right at the exit of winter. And it was difficult because the return to reality on the meds was accompanied by such shame, guilt, embarrassment. Like, what did I do while I was off my rocker? Yeah. And then the return to reality would bring me back down to a very depressive state. And from 2013 to about 2016, that depressive state was, that's really when my depression was at its worst. And in 2013, I remember every night falling asleep, praying not to wake up the next day. But I would always follow that prayer. I would always follow it by a promise that if I did wake up the next day, there had to be a reason for it. And I was going to make the very best of that day. And in those days, the best I could do sometimes was make sure I ate that day. Maybe take a shower every few days. Sometimes just singing, doing anything, getting out of bed. Getting out of bed. I'm grateful for that promise I used to make. Because I still make it. I don't say the prayer anymore. It's pretty much the opposite today. If I had a prayer to make today, it would be, don't take me away from this life too soon, please. Because 2013, the rock bottom of my depression feels like 3 lifetimes ago at this point. I've come a long way since then. I've come a really long way. I didn't have much hope for a schizo like me back then. Anyways, back in 2016 is where my life started to change for the better. They actually changed my medication from a pill a day to a shot a month that is administered by a nurse. I don't do it on my own. The biggest thing that came from getting on my meds is that I have not been back to the psych ward since. Now, that doesn't mean it's been smooth sailing. In 2016, they had me on such a high dosage of my medication that I was sleeping 12 to 14 hours a day. I considered it a good week if I was able to leave my place 2 or 3 times during the week just to go to an appointment. Oh my God, I didn't even go to half my appointments. It was just so foggy in my brain. I was a zombie. And it was a very lonely time because the medication really did prevent me from connecting to people because I couldn't translate my thoughts into speech. I quite literally at the time, if I needed to formulate a sentence, I had to visualize the writing in my head, spelling and all for all the words in the sentence with punctuation, believe it or not. And so by the time I structured my sentence in my head, of course, the person talking to me had already probably moved on from that subject, and or when it came time for me to answer, I hadn't formulated the full sentence. So for a long time, I was mainly communicating with, yeah, okay. One word answers simple sentences, no complex thoughts or analyses, or living was a chore at that time. It wasn't easy to be alive at that time, and I was very much aware, and it gave me the worst anxiety and led to more isolation and depression and anxiety. Oh, you should have seen my apartment in those days. It was a hoarder's paradise, just a mess, just horrible. I didn't pay my bills. Yeah, wasn't doing anything to take care of myself. That, and I gained a lot of weight. I started eating my feelings, and the medication also brought irresistible cravings. It was a tough time. And I actually stayed on that dosage of the medication for 3.5 years until 2019. I didn't think it could get better than that. I was told they would never lower my medication after that. They told me I was at the lowest dosage. And at that point, I was happy because I was sleeping only 10 to 12 hours a night at that point. And I started to have the energy to go to almost all my appointments. Started, taking a look at my unopened mail and my unpaid bills and everything, and decided to start somewhere. About 3.5 years later, so we're now talking recent history, July 2023. It was the 20th or the 21st, I believe. 21st, I think. My psychiatrist decided that it was time to lower my medication again, because I had gone into her office and I was like, you know what? I am sick and tired of gaining weight. I am sick and tired of not working. I am sick and tired of not being financially independent. I'm sick and tired of not being able to focus. I'm sick and tired of not being able to communicate and or communicate properly. And I thought she was going to add a medication, but no, she decided to lower my medication this time again. That was last July. Since last July, I have managed to lose about 14 kilos. Since last July, my ability to express myself has come back. Reading is still difficult, but I found my curiosity again and my joy of learning again. And I listen to podcasts all the time. And the focus of those podcasts is anything that pertains to mental health, anything that pertains to wellness, to personal development, to caring for yourself physically through nutrition, exercise, caring for yourself emotionally by doing inner child work, by observing current habits, observing current thought processes, observing your inner dialogue, just overall, and you can tell a lot about the past by the present. A lot of us operate on survival mechanisms that we put in place as children and that have not evolved since then. I'll give you an example. When I get upset or frustrated or angry, my first reflex is to pout, because that's what I did as a kid. There's reasons for it. I'm not going to go into those, but pouting was my safe place. And so I continued to do it as an adult. But as an adult, I'm sorry, but you look like a 2-year-old having a tantrum, and it's okay to feel like you want to pout, But there are probably better ways to learn how to regulate your emotions. And so that's all the work that I've been dedicated to doing. I've been taking sessions with my therapist since 2021. She's absolutely fantastic, and I feel very connected to the way she approaches caring for others and helping others help themselves with an attentive ear. And she also brought me hope. She became a safe place for me, and I needed that. Her unwavering faith in me allowed me to ignite that little spark inside of me until I was finally able to start standing on my own 2 feet. And I don't believe I've missed a single session with her since 2021. I see her weekly to this day. And I actually love my sessions with her so much that as of a certain point, it wasn't enough anymore. So in September last year, I actually added a life coach to really tackle those concrete day-to-day tasks that I struggle with. And again, my life coach is someone who leads with an attentive ear, a whole bunch of empathy and support, and he has also become a safe space for me. Not only that, but until I believed in myself and decided to launch my life coaching business, I had these 2 amazing cheerleaders, my therapist and my life coach, who believed in me and saw my potential when I couldn't. And all that was, my negative inner dialogue, just doubting myself. Who's gonna trust me? I'm crazy. I'm schizo. But I come from a place where I speak from experience. I've been there. And I can relate to the hopelessness, the despair, the depression, the highest of highs. And you know what? I'm a far, far, far ways away from the unstable, unbalanced person that I used to be. It took me a long time to get where I'm at right now, where I can speak to you confidently about feeling good in my own skin, which I hadn't felt good in my own skin for years. A few months ago, I actually took a good look at my nutrition and changed it completely. I cut out all sugars. I went keto, and I've never felt better. My apartment has never been cleaner. I'm on top of my bills. I have become a functional member of society again. It's taken me 13 years since my diagnosis to get here. And when I think of how long it took, I know there's a way to get to where I'm at, but faster. Because I didn't have the support of someone who knew what it's like to have this disorder. I didn't know what it felt like. I didn't know it was possible to feel well after my diagnosis. I had moments where I was like, ooh, good day. But I was always in survival mode. And I have gained so many tools through therapy, various therapies, meditation work, inner child work, concrete actions that you take in day-to-day life. I really take a holistic approach to self-care. And that doesn't mean that in my sessions I'm going to ask you to tackle all areas at the same time. No. In my sessions, the most important part of my job is listening, getting to know you, and starting from there, starting from where you are, not trying to do everything at the same time, one step at a time. But today, I can regulate my emotions, I exercise, I eat right, I walk almost everywhere I can, and I feel good. And now I want to share that. I want to share this roadmap. I'm here to share with you the tools that I've learned, those that I've seen work for others, the tools that have worked for me. And I hope that if you take anything away from everything I've said, is just that if you or a loved one has schizoaffective disorder, don't lose hope. You can have a good quality of life. You can feel good in your own skin. You can change your inner dialogue. You can be kinder to yourself. You can be more productive. You can work. You can be passionate. You can have a purpose. It takes work. A lot of it. A lot of tears. A lot of frustration. But I'm here for all of it. So don't hesitate to reach out if you're interested in my coaching. See you next time.